The rain was coming down in relentless sheets, blurring the glass windows of the little cafe on Maple Street, where the smell of freshly ground coffee clung to the air like a warm blanket. Inside, every table was full, young couples whispering in low voices, office workers tapping away on laptops, and friends laughing over shared pastries. And then there was her, sitting alone by the window, hands curled around a chipped white mug, staring into the swirling foam as if it held all the answers she desperately needed. Her name was Clara, and today was supposed to be just another ordinary, lonely day. But fate had other plans. And that's where he walked in. Soaked from the rain, his dark coat dripping water onto the cafe floor, he scanned the room with quiet desperation. His hair was slightly tousled, and his sharp jawline made him stand out, but there was something in his eyes that was unexpectedly soft, tired, almost broken. Every table was taken. People avoided his gaze. No one moved. But then his eyes met hers. For a second, she hesitated. She never talked to strangers, not after the heartbreaks she'd been through. Yet something about him, about the way he looked almost lost, made her speak before she even realized. She gestured to the empty chair across from her. And just like that, a single act of kindness began a story neither of them could have ever imagined. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, please hit that like button, comment below, share this video, and subscribe to Ripple of Souls. Your support helps spread these heart-touching stories to more people who need hope. Clara hadn't always been this quiet, this withdrawn. Just a year ago, she was full of laughter, with dreams of opening her own art studio. But life had other plans. Her fiancé had left her for someone else, taking not only her trust but also the savings she had poured into their shared future. Now, she worked long shifts at a bookstore, barely making enough to pay rent for her tiny apartment. The cafe was her escape, a place where she could sit for hours, pretending for a little while that life wasn't as heavy as it felt. The man sitting across from her said nothing for a while. He simply removed his wet coat, draped it on the back of the chair, and sighed as if carrying an invisible weight. Clara noticed the way his hands trembled slightly as he held the menu, and the deep lines of exhaustion carved into his face. She guessed he might be in his early 30s, maybe mid-30s, though something in his eyes made him seem older, someone who had been through storms she couldn't imagine. When their eyes met again, she gave him a polite smile. Something unspoken passed between them, something fragile and human. She didn't ask who he was or why he looked like the world had pushed him to his knees. And he didn't offer anything either. For some reason, that silence felt comforting, two strangers sharing the same table, yet not demanding anything from each other. Over the next hour, the quiet shifted. He finally spoke, and though his words were simple, Clara noticed how carefully he chose them, as if he wasn't used to talking to people anymore. He told her his name, Ethan. That was all at first. But gradually, little details slipped out. He was new to town, he had recently moved here for a fresh start, and, almost as an afterthought, he mentioned he had a young daughter waiting for him at home. His voice softened when he spoke about her, and Clara caught a glimpse of something deeply beautiful in him, something tender and protective. What she didn't know, not yet, was that Ethan wasn't just any single father. He was a man who had built an empire in the tech industry, a quiet millionaire who had left the glittering city life behind after losing his wife in a tragic accident. All the wealth in the world couldn't fill the emptiness that followed. For a year, he had been drifting, trying to be the best father he could while hiding from the world that constantly demanded more of him. Today, he had simply wanted a quiet cup of coffee. Instead, he had found her. As the rain outside softened into a drizzle, Clara and Ethan began to talk more. She found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. He listened, really listened, as she spoke about her love for painting, about the dreams she had tucked away because life had been too cruel. And for the first time in a long while, she felt seen. Days turned into weeks. They started meeting at the same cafe, sometimes by coincidence, sometimes because one of them secretly hoped the other would be there. Ethan never once mentioned his wealth. He wore simple clothes, drove an old car, and lived like an ordinary man. Clara liked that about him. His kindness felt genuine, his smile real. Slowly, her walls began to crumble, and so did his. But life has a way of testing hearts just when they start to heal. One evening, Clara accidentally discovered who Ethan really was. A news article flashed on the cafe's TV, a feature on the reclusive tech millionaire who moved to their small town. His picture was there, his full name, his story. Clara felt her heart sink. She had trusted him, opened up to him, and he hadn't told her the truth. When he walked into the cafe that night, she didn't smile. Her eyes held a quiet hurt that made his chest tighten. He sat across from her, his hands trembling just like that first day. In a low voice, he confessed everything, how he had lost his wife, how he had run from his old life because it felt empty without love, how he didn't want her to see him as the millionaire, but just as a man trying to be a good father. Clara listened, torn between anger and empathy. But when he said, with tears in his eyes, that meeting her had been the first time he had felt alive again, something in her heart shifted. That night, they sat in silence for a long time, hands resting on the table, almost touching but not quite. Then Clara placed her hand over his, and for the first time, Ethan let himself cry. Two broken souls, slowly finding pieces of themselves in each other. In the weeks that followed, things began to change for both of them. Ethan started bringing his daughter, Lily, to the cafe, and Clara found herself painting again, this time, portraits of the two people who had unknowingly become her family. The cafe table by the window, once a place of quiet loneliness, became a place of laughter, of dreams whispered over coffee, of healing hearts. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold, Ethan looked at her with a softness that made her heart race. "You changed my life," he said simply. And Clara, with tears brimming in her eyes, smiled and whispered back, "You gave me mine back." Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Souls. Leave a comment below about your favorite part, and help us spread hope to someone who might need this reminder that love and kindness can heal even the deepest wounds. Speech balloon special request, comment below. Kindness changes everything. If you believe small acts of compassion can change lives.